What's happening, everyone? JayShockblast here, and check it out. Today I went to see Venom, and I have to say, I was not terrible. I was actually pleasantly surprised with how slightly above average it was, and if you kind of follow the buzz on social media, there's been a lot of negativity around the movie, and I was actually happy to see that it really, for me, did not live up to that negativity. I tried to go in with an open mind because it's so easy to get wrapped up in just how overwhelming it can seem that people are just like bagging on this movie. And I think it's like almost the Solo effect, and a lot of people are trying to sink it before it even gets the chance to swim. And I think that's a mistake. I think this is a movie that is worth, seeing. I feel like it's a movie that's at least worth the matinee price at the theater. I happened to see it today at 12:15, and there was actually surprisingly about 40 or 50 people there for middle of the day on a random Friday during school time, and obviously during people's work weeks. So I think that's actually a good sign. I think this movie's going to do pretty well, and I think it should. Venom without Spider-Man was always kind of a weird concept, and I think they found a way to make it work, even absent a true villain. Like, everything in this movie feels very new. It feels very niche, if you will, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm the world's biggest Venom fan by any stretch of the imagination, but you don't necessarily have to be to kind of follow it. There are a lot of obscure characters that are in this, and honestly, the only one you really need to know is Eddie Brock. Is this the stereotypical or prototypical Eddie Brock? I don't think so. Again, I'm not like the world's biggest Venom expert, but I never really kind of pictured him like this, but this is what they're going with. And I think Tom Hardy was a great choice for Eddie. I think he played him very well, and you're kind of sympathetic to his character. He's kind of more of a down on his luck kind of guy, rather than a brash villain that Eddie Brock has always struck me as. This is more of a lethal protector story, and could it have used, would I have rather seen Venom pop up in a Spider-Man movie first? Yes. But I think they did a good job of telling everybody exactly who Venom is, who Eddie Brock is, how they got there, explaining, how he became Venom. And it was a decent story. Riz Ahmed is Carlton Drake, the leader of the Life Foundation. He sends a shuttle up into space that comes back with 4 symbiotes. One of them escapes and eventually makes its way back to him. I don't know 100% why or how it knew to get back to him, but it did. It took him like 6 months, but like in the grand scheme of things, that part was a little weird to me, because we followed, it ended up being Riot. We kind of follow Riot's path to getting to Carlton Drake. And then there's Venom, who, Eddie Brock breaks into the Life Foundation and ends up inadvertently, being bonded with the Venom symbiote. Or symbiote, or however they pronounce it. Because trust me, if there's one thing I can do very well, it's mispronounce things. And I know the pronunciation in this movie seems like it's a little bit off, but in any event, it is what it is. And, is there a lot of action? I don't think so. I think you honestly see a lot of the action that's in this movie in the trailers. Like, honestly, the action in the trailers gets extended a very little bit, and there's not much more on top of that other than the kind of ending battle. I just felt like they did a good enough job. There are some really laugh out loud parts of the movie. Like I said, about 40 or 50 people at the theater I saw it at, and there were moments where something funny happened, and it wasn't like, a chuckle to yourself. Sometimes you go to a movie, something funny happens, and everybody laughs, but you don't necessarily hear it. In this case, it was like, like, it was very audible, and it was, kind of slap your knee funny, and I like that. I think it actually worked very well as they try to, like, go through the dialogue between Eddie and Symbiote and how they try to figure each other out. So all in all, it was pretty good. But I think the biggest area that this movie succeeded is creating the need for a second movie. Like, I feel like this entire movie, the entire purpose of it is to build up for a second movie, and this is definitely sequel worthy, and especially because of the first after credit scene. There are 2 after credit scenes, the second of which is really just an extended scene from Into the Spider-Verse, which was great, by the way. I actually really like seeing it, and I can't wait to see that in theaters. But the first true, the only true after credit scene basically sets up Carnage. You know, he's back to being a reporter after all said and done, and he's got the dream interview, and it's with Cletus Cassidy. And I didn't know this. Maybe this is more well known than I think it is, but Woody Harrelson is Carnage, and that's crazy. And if you had told me Woody Harrelson was going to end up being Cletus Cassidy before I saw this movie, I would have said, that's really not very good. I don't see it. I wanted the kid from Gotham that's basically Jack or Joker or whatever they have him. I thought he would be the perfect young Cletus Cassidy, but they're going a little bit of a different route, and I can't wait to see it. And I really hope he gets the opportunity to play out, because I think with a little bit more action and maybe some Spider-Man team up or interference, a Venom 2 could be maybe not masterpiece, but one of the great comic book movies. This is not, and that's okay. It's not Fantastic Four or Ghost Rider by any stretch of the imagination. It's certainly better than Suicide Squad, though. I mean, I could definitely say that very, very confidently. I think it's worth seeing in theaters. I mean, at least see it as a matinee. I think it's a really surprisingly solid movie, and there's some interesting moments, you know, whether it's Anne becoming She-Venom like she does in the comics, or, you know, Riot versus Venom. And I wouldn't say that fight is like gonna go on any top 5 comic book hero fights, you know, videos, but it was interesting enough, and it was interesting how they worked in sonics and fire and the things that are kind of weaknesses for the symbiotes. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how Cletus Cassidy kind of finds himself in a second movie. I want to see Spider-Man and Venom in the same place at the same time. I don't know if there's really many other ways that they could have done this all that much better. Like, I don't know what story you really tell, other than, you know, having Venom, you know, rather randomly find, you know, Eddie, like in the Topher Grace version. I'm okay with this. I think it works out fine. It's a little different, but I think with comic book movies, we're all kind of, you know, numb to that at this point. Hollywood's going to do what they're going to do, and, you know, comic books be damned. So I guess the biggest point that I would want people to leave this review with is it's not a bad movie. It's worth seeing. I think you'll enjoy it if you like comic book movies, and it's really that simple. Tom Hardy's fine. Everybody else does well. I mean, no major characters. It's not flashy, but it's a solid, you know, above average movie. So I would love to know what everybody else thinks when you see it, and I definitely would say, you know, again, at least a matinee. I think it's worthwhile if you enjoy comic book movies and comics to give this movie a look. I would love to see a second movie, especially now that we've seen, you know, Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy. And again, let me know what you guys think. So this movie is a solid, slightly above average 6 out of 10. And, you know, maybe you can wait for it to be Netflix or, you know, Redbox or, I don't know, Pirate Bay, whatever it is that's best for you. I don't want to advocate piracy, but, you know, it was a joke. Come on. I paid for it, and I'm fine. I think it was worth the money I paid. I got to see it in the nice theater with the Dolby Atmos and all that stuff. So, you know, there's not really a whole lot that they probably could have done better. and there's definitely things they could have done worse. I think this is about as good as you could expect from a solo Venom movie where the main villain is Riot. So take that as you will, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope it helped. And again, if you've seen the movie, I would love to know what you think. Hope you guys enjoyed this. See ya.